Shields up, Iron Breakers. Rurikhan here, coming at you with another video, and today we're going to be talking about Fallout 76 because yesterday I finally got to play the beta for this game. And you guys know that I've been excited for this game pretty much since we've seen the stuff that they were talking about during E3 of this year, which is why I've done a couple of videos about the topic already. But we finally got to have our hands on it, and before we begin, I'd like to thank my good friend Kegaran for hooking me up with a beta key because I personally haven't pre-ordered the game yet. He pre-ordered the game, but there was apparently some kind of Amazon mess up, and he ended up with two beta keys, so that was pretty convenient. And I got to play it. I played it with him. We played last night throughout the entirety of the beta period, and it was pretty fun. In this video, I'm going to be talking to you guys about my initial impressions because even though I had quite a bit of fun with the beta, not everything is sunshine and roses. So if someone was to ask me, Rurikhan, do you think that game is going to be worth my time? Do you think it's going to be a fun game to play? It's like my initial gut reaction just wants me to say it's a fun game if you are playing it with friends. That's pretty much what I would boil it down to, because a lot of people have been saying, oh, it'll still be fun if you play by yourself and you do the quests and you do the things and all of that. And in my opinion, I don't think it will be that much fun because, you know, I started the stream by myself because Kegaran was still downloading because that was a whole nother thing. Bethesda kind of completely messed up the beta for the PC users. There's a lot of PC users really upset right now because they didn't get to play the beta. I thought that they were even going to extend the duration of the beta because that would have been a little bit of a nice thing to do. Because essentially what happened was there was a mess up on the client side. The schedule was all messed up. It was actually announcing the beta 2 hours ahead of time. And then on top of it, before the beta went live, it just deleted the beta from everyone's computer, so everyone had to re-download the beta. Now, luckily, my internet connection was feeling up to the task that particular evening, so I was able to just re-download everything and start playing pretty much about half an hour into the beta. So for me, it was fine. There was a lot of people that actually were not able, like I know that Sid Alpha even made a video that he wasn't able to play the beta. But anyways, I got in there and I started playing by myself because there was nobody else there playing with me. And a weird thing happened, which is I'm in the character creator screen and I have a microphone hooked up to my gaming computer because I have a streaming computer. Basically, the microphone that I'm using now is not hooked up to my gaming computer. But I have another microphone hooked up into it. So I'm speaking to my stream and suddenly some random person starts talking back to me like, what the hell's happening? Apparently the game is always broadcasting your voice to everyone that's connected to the server. And I was like, what? That's weird. But anyways, I turned all that stuff off and I start playing and I'm just like, this feels kind of weird because there's all these quests at the start. There's these holotapes, right? Because that's kind of like how quests work in Fallout 76. You just constantly pick up holotapes that tell you, oh, you need to go do this thing. You need to go do that thing. So I'm picking up the holo quests. I'm trying to follow like some kind of a quest line. But ultimately, I don't think that this is that kind of a game, you know, like, because usually, say for instance, Fallout 4, which is the first Fallout that I really delved into. And I know I'm very much a Fallout noob when it comes to Fallout. Like, I understand that completely. Feel free to criticize me all you want. But essentially in Fallout 4, like, you would go and you would talk to characters, you would interact with them, you'd make decisions, then they would tell, okay, now you got to go do here, do this thing. And you kind of start following a bit of a plot, and then you can kind of, you know, do your own thing, or you can follow the main story if you want to, or you can follow side quests if you want to. Well, in 76, I don't feel that the game really lends itself to that. I think the game became a lot more fun once Kegaran joined in, and we just kind of started going in random directions and just picking up loot and picking up gear that way. We just kind of started playing it just like what I assume is a typical survival game, because you guys know that I don't actually play a lot of survival games because I get bored of the, oh, you gotta eat now you gotta drink, now you gotta go do this, otherwise your character will die, or he'll have diarrhea, or he will be sick, or, you know, that kind of stuff doesn't really appeal to me. Which is why I was pretty happy when Todd Howard said it was going to be survival light. And I never really felt overwhelmed by the survival elements of Fallout 76. So in that aspect, it's cool. But again, when we started actually going out and just like, we completely ignored the main quests for a while. And we were just like, oh, let's go over here. Let's kill these feral dudes. Oh, they're scorched over there shooting. Go over there, loot. And we started like finding a couple of elites out into the world, looting a bunch of them, and actually started gearing ourselves up and learning special recipes and learning how the crafting system works. Then it became a lot more interesting because before Kegaran arrived and we started off doing our thing, I was just like, I felt like I was going from holotape to holotape, and it was being really boring to me personally, right? But again, it's not that the game itself is boring. I think that just following that main quest line doesn't feel particularly satisfying, because like in previous Fallouts, you would be interacting with characters, and I think that was a big deal, right? You interacting with other characters out in the world, and that would be kind of like how you would be forming your own story. Whereas in here, there are no NPCs. And in a way, I almost wish they didn't tell you that there are no NPCs. I think that could have actually been a little bit more interesting, because there would be a bit of a mystique to it as you get these quests. Because ultimately, every quest that I picked up, it was like, oh yeah, you got to go find this person. I'm like, that person's not going to be there because I already know that there's no NPCs in the game. Like what? So your first quest, like, got to go find the Overseer, and you find the Overseer's camp, and you find clues, and you're following in the footsteps of dead people. That's what you're doing throughout most of these pre-made quests, the quests that kind of drive you down the plot. You're learning things about the world for sure, and sure, there's story there and lore and a bunch of stuff that you can really experience if you want to, but ultimately, you're following in the footsteps of dead people. Because the Overseer's dead, then they have me track down this Kesha McDermott or whatever, and I already know that she's dead too, so eventually you're kind of following in the footsteps of another dead person. Then that holotape will lead you to follow somebody else. I did like one of the holotapes that I found, because it had a recording of a dude, and he was telling other people, like, look, I got money stashed over here, and if you followed the instructions, it felt a little bit organic the way that worked out, and how, oh, if you go to this grave over here and you look off into the hills, you can go pick up a treasure and stuff. So there is good stuff there, but ultimately, my biggest problem with this whole main plot line aspect of it is that, you know, when you're with friends, right? Because this is a game that, in my opinion, you want to play with friends. You want to have like 3, 2, or, you know, whatever, how many friends you can gather up to play it, because you can only have up to a party of 4, I think. But whatever, you want to be playing with your friends. And ultimately, when you're playing video games with your friends, you're all talking about stuff, right? You're discussing things, and you're not necessarily like, okay, everybody shut up, I got to listen to this holotape. And the holotapes aren't even synced. So like, I could be listening to a holotape, Kegaran could be listening to another holotape, somebody else could be listening. So it's like, it's not like these things are even in sync. So you could have just like a play session where you're trying to follow these storylines and everyone's just listening to their own audio tape, right? Doesn't really make that much sense, which is why, in my opinion, the game became so much fun when we just kind of went off and we're just like, dude, screw the holotapes, let's just have some fun, right? That is when it became fun, when you're actually playing it like a typical survival game, as opposed to playing it like a Fallout RPG game, which I know is going to be a little bit disappointing to a lot of people. And I hear a lot of you guys right now. You guys are probably saying, but Rurikhan, the holotapes are fine because you can listen to the holotapes at a later date. But the thing is, I picked up so many holotapes early on in the game that it's like, how am I going to be able to reference which holotape I picked up when, and how do I know where I picked up a holotape? Because as far as I could tell, there's no actual in-game system to track where you picked up a holotape. And I think that would be important. If you're able to like select a holotape and you'd be able to see in the map where you picked up that holotape, or maybe even when you picked up that holotape, so that you get a frame of reference, so that when you want to experience the story, you'd be able to go to these different places, and then you could play the holotapes by yourself. So essentially, you could be playing survival mode with your friends, and then whenever you're playing by yourself, then you can go and really immerse yourself into the holotape. So in a way, it's like, I'm glad that the whole holotape thing is there, but I wish it would have been handled a little bit differently. But again, I'm a Fallout noob, so my opinion is just that. It is my personal opinion. So you guys that maybe have played Fallout for far longer than me, you can let me know what you guys think about that. Now, the other thing was also, one of those holotapes, I think, was trying to teach me how to boil water. And dude, they dragged that on for such a long time. And the worst part about it was that at the end of the holotape, I still didn't know exactly what the game wanted me to do to boil water. Essentially, boiling water, you go to a crafting station and you craft it just like you craft food. So I was just like, why did they leave this big, long holotape? It felt like 3 minutes of someone just blabbering on about the importance of boiling water. And I'm just like, come on, dude. Do you really need that? But anyways, so there's the whole holotape situation, and then there's the fact that the quests constantly refer to people that are long dead. But You will get benefits from completing these quests though, because they give you materials, they give you experience. Sometimes you get new recipes for things that you can craft. But it seems to me, from my initial impressions, because again, we only played like 3.5 hours of this. It seems to me that pretty much anything that you can get from completing these quests, you can get by yourself by just going out into the world and just like, farming, killing things and finding items somewhere, exploring different mines and stuff like that. So it was not really a big problem because like to me, it's like if you're the kind of person that wants to just immerse yourself into the lore, you'll probably want to spend more time playing by yourself because playing with friends, everybody's going to be chatting around and you're not going to be able to really focus on the holotape. So to explore the lore of each location and really immerse yourself in that, you'll want to play by yourself. To have fun with the multiplayer aspects, though, you definitely want to do it with friends because then you can form up the party and you can go kill stuff and get materials and survive and explore. And like I said, that part was fun. Now, let's talk a little bit about the technical aspects of it because I know a lot of people are going to want to know about the performance and stuff. I actually wish that I would have been able to play on PS4. I'm considering even pre-order the PS4 version just so that I can test that out because that will probably be where I end up playing because I think a majority of the Iron Breakers are on the PlayStation 4 and I want to have the ability to play with as many of you as possible. But yeah, on the PC side of things, you guys remember I still have my GTX 970. It was kind of weird because at the start of the stream, everything was running super smooth, no problem. Like I think we were hitting pretty much solid 60 throughout most of it, which was surprising because the game defaults to ultra settings, so everything maxed out. So the good aspects of it is that at the beginning, very well optimized. As we moved on and you start seeing more foliage and a little bit more depth of field effects, it started chugging. But I don't think it's my PC because I watched the video from Force and Force was also complaining about choppiness and frame rates and stuff like that. So I'm like, well, Force's PC is probably 1,000 times better than mine. So it can't just be my GPU. There's probably a couple of optimization issues there that hopefully they can fix. However, this is Bethesda and let's be honest, Fallout 4 did not launch in the best of circumstances. As much as I'm excited for the game, I gotta keep it real for you guys, and I don't think that Fallout 4 launched in a particularly polished state, so I don't expect Fallout 76 to launch in a particularly polished state either, but I must say it launched in a much better, I say launch, this is the beta, but technically it's a soft launch because there's not going to be character resets, so it's whatever. Although, to be honest, with what I've experienced in the game so far, I'm no longer that put off by that fact because I don't think you really get that much progression in that short period of time. And even if you do, people can just catch up to you fairly easily from what I've seen, so it's not a big deal. But ultimately, as I was saying, it was actually a little bit more stable than I expected, but at the same time, it's still a little bit janky in there. And then we have the actual fidelity of the visuals, which was not that impressive. I figured it's a bit of a souped up version of Fallout 4, so it looks a little bit better because it looks a little bit more colorful than what I remember. I remember Fallout 4 just felt like extremely gritty and dark and just like at all times. Like, sure, there'll be the occasional instance where you would see a little bit of green, but this one feels a little bit more colorful. It's a lot more vibrant, so it's a little bit more pleasing to the eye to go out and explore and have fun that way. So that aspect of it, I enjoyed. I thought the visuals were fine, but again, it's not going to blow your mind. I saw a lot of people in my live stream complaining like, oh, this game looks terrible and it looks atrocious, and I'm just like, it looks like the promotional material that I've seen for this game, which was never really that impressive to begin with, so not exactly sure what you were expecting. I mean, if people are expecting Red Dead Redemption 2 levels of visual fidelity, you're going to be extremely disappointed, both in terms of visual fidelity and animations, because they're not even close to that. Like, expect a little bit better than Fallout 4, and you won't be disappointed, because that's exactly how it feels. Now, a couple of more things that I want to talk about is your builds and your stats as you start leveling up. One of the things that I was hoping for was a respec system. I couldn't find any reference to respecking in the game itself. I haven't done a whole lot of research into it because, like I said, I wanted to experience and discover a lot of the things firsthand in the game, because ultimately, I know that I'm a content creator, but I also want to enjoy the games that I'm playing. I don't want to just be like, already know everything about a game when I jump in there, because that's not fun. But anyway, the respecking thing is a point that I would harp on a little bit, because it would have been nice to be able to respec like your strength and agility stats, maybe pay a couple of caps for that, or maybe you need to have a specific location. Maybe you need to own one of those camps that you need to take over in order to respec, maybe a specific one. I don't know, just something that would every now and then allow me to respec so that you guys know me, I'm a fanatical about doing builds, about trying out different play styles in video games. So if I was able to reset my stats, that would have been cool. But anyways, I don't think you'll be able to reset your stats, but every time that you level up, you will be getting like cards based on the stat that you do level up. And then every certain number of levels, like the first one that I received was a level 5, you will receive a card pack which has a wide variety of cards, which are basically perks. And these perks, whenever you get them from a pack, they can be perks from any of your stats. So even if you're mostly focusing, say, on strength and endurance, which is what I was doing, you can, once you get a card pack, you can get cards for like your perception and your agility and your luck and stuff like that. And in a way, it's like, that's cool, because it encourages experimentation, because the cards you can replace at will. You can basically swap cards whenever you want, and you can just like keep trying out different things with the cards. But in another way, if you're going for a very specific card, like if you need a specific perk, so for instance, Kegaran wanted to go after lock picking so that we could pick locks, and he wanted to go after hacking so that we could hack terminals. And he wasn't able to get those cards early on despite leveling up on that stuff because, you know, it's random, the cards that you get. He has told me though that once you get to a certain point in the game, you will be able to like acquire all of the cards that the game has, and therefore you can like tweak your build around perfectly to suit your stats though, because you can't really change your stats. But it's like, in a way it's random, and that's a little bit annoying, because so if you're going after a specific perk and you don't get it, you're going to be frustrating. But in another way, it does encourage experimentation, so you'll be able to fool around with perks that maybe you wouldn't have used had you not picked them up that way. So there is a little bit of experimentation there. You can kind of like fool around, but I think it also means that your first character might not end up being your main character, because you might build some kind of Frankenstein monster with your stats, and then you can't change that. So you'll kind of be locked into that character if you're a min-maxer. So I think that the first character that I build, I will eventually end up deleting once I understand like all of the cards that are present and all of the stats and how they play together, and I plan out an actual build that I want to do. Then I'll probably start the game fresh and get the stats that I want to get and go about it that way. So there is RNG to your build, but at the same time, you know, there's a weird thing here, because you kind of expect a game like this, you know, 4-player co-op game to have a ton of grind to it. And the vibe that I got from this beta is that there's not really going to be that much of a grind unless you're grinding for like specific materials to build something. Like, you know, if you're actively looking to like do something like a big building, or maybe something special for your house or something like that, unless you're looking for that kind of stuff, and then you will probably have to grind for mats and stuff. I don't think there's actually that much grind in terms of progression. I don't think that will be a big thing. I think it'll mostly be just about surviving and crafting food and moving on, which is a bit of a different thing that I was expecting. I was expecting a lot more Fallout Destiny, but it feels more like, I don't know, because here's the thing, I don't play a lot of survival games, right? Because I don't like them all that much. But this feels probably like Fallout DayZ, I think. This at least seemed to me like what DayZ would feel like, even though I don't play DayZ, to be completely honest. But I don't know, I still felt like it was fun. I still feel like it will be fun if you are going at it with friends. But I think that for single player, it's only going to be for the really hardcore people that are super into the Fallout lore and finding out like every nook and cranny and listening to every single holotape in the game. That, I think, are going to be the people that will really enjoy the whole following the main storyline and stuff. And I think a majority of people are probably going to be more about, oh, let's just like screw the story, let's just go over there and like build a camp and start farming resources and build machine guns and start leveling up our characters. I think that is going to be a majority of the people that play this game, but I could be completely wrong. I know that probably a lot of you guys want to talk about VATS, but I played mostly with melee, And with Melee, what I can tell you is that VATS felt very awkward because you would always need action points. And since you're Melee, you're going to be running into enemies a lot of the times. And so I would very rarely be able to use VATS with Melee because I just would not have action points. Kegaran used VATS a couple of times to aim for limbs and shit like that. And he said it felt okay. So I don't know. I don't know that much about VATS. I plan on testing that out maybe in the next beta. We'll see how that pans out depending on how interested you guys are in this game. But ultimately, these are my takes on it. Like, the very quick take is, I think it'll be fun with friends. And I had people coming up in my stream just saying like, well, even shit games are fun with friends. And it's like, well, yeah, but I don't think this is a shit game. I don't think this is a game that a lot of people want. But at the same time, I don't think it's shit. I think it's okay. And sometimes games are not meant to be like this mind-blowing thing. This was initially planned out as Fallout 4 multiplayer, and they kind of made it into its own thing. So who knows what this is going to pan out to be, what features they're going to put in, what like weekly activities. I think it's going to live very much throughout their games as a service. The way that they implement it is going to be what this game lives and dies for. Their ability to get the community to keep coming back to participate in like weekly and monthly events, I think that is going to be the lifeblood of this game. And if Bethesda is able to rally their community around it, then I think the game will be fine. But if they're not able to make it engaging enough to keep people coming back, I think the game will eventually die down. But anyways, what would you guys like to know more about Fallout 76? Let me know in the comment section below. And in the next betas, I'll try to find out answers to all of your questions. Thank you guys very much for watching. If you guys enjoy my videos, do remember you can subscribe and you can hit the bell icon. And sometimes YouTube will notify you of the videos that I put up. Thank you very much. Did I already thank you? I think I already thanked you guys, but I'm a little bit sleep deprived because we live streamed until like 4 in the morning yesterday. So bear with me. Anyway, if you did enjoy it, leave a like on it. I'll see you guys on the next one. Here's 2 video suggestions. Peace out.